Okay, everybody, we are live. Sorry for the delay, but my name is Clay Olson, and you recognize Holly here.
Yep, I'm here.
Now, Holly, you've seen her with our Fortified chats that we do every single month, but this time is unique. This time, she's actually the expert webinar guest. So we're really, we knew that we were going to be doing this at some point, and we're likely going to be doing more of these with her in the future, but I'm just telling her this now. But we're very excited to have her. Today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, and something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that is the secrets to getting past the 2 to 3 week hurdle or barrier.
Yeah. Yeah,
for good.
It's a big one. For good. That's the key.
So, but before we dive in, let's give you a little bit of an understanding of who Holly is, because you may have seen her from from the other Fortified chats, but let's get to know Holly a little bit better. So, Holly is a licensed and clinical mental health counselor, and she has her own practice, which is the Beam Creek Counseling. She is a certified clinical partner specialist in the APSATS Association, which is the Association of Partners of Sex Addicts and Trauma Specialists. And she's also certified in EMDR therapy, trauma therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So great, a lot of credentials there. She's certified. She's definitely knows her stuff. She's also been in this field for how long now?
Ooh,
I mean, you've been working with
almost 25 years.
25 years. So anytime you do something for that long, you're going to see a thing or two, and you're going to kind of know a thing or two at that point.
Definitely. You can't not.
And you've been working on online pornography addiction for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Starting with Candeo, which was a platform, and now transitioning into you were the coaching director over at Candeo, and now, as many of you already know, she is the coaching director for Fortify. So yes, we're happy to have her as a part of the team, and also a special guest for today's webinar. Thank you, Holly.
You're welcome.
So let's dive in. So I think one of the biggest questions that a lot of people get when we're dealing with this issue is, how did you get into this? Like, what made you kind of decide that you wanted to not only become a therapist, but specifically help people overcome sexual compulsivity? What was that for you?
Well, 10 months into marriage, you're trying to figure out how to go to school and pay for everything. So my husband and I got a job as home parents at a residential treatment center. So I became the mother of 17 boys at risk. Yeah. And I won't even mention how old I was. So,
oh my goodness.
Anyway, it was a little bit baptism into fire. So we were there for about 3 years. But this was, I'll age myself, 1993. So when we started. So right before the internet.
Okay.
Right before the internet. So
you were working with how many boys?
17 boys.
17
so I was
at-risk boys.
At-risk boys. So I was in charge of them from 3 to 10 at night, and then our apartment was on the back of the home. So I saw it there, but there we were like taking away Playboys and confiscating magazines and
because that's what was available.
That was what was available. So after the 3 years, we started having our own family. And so, I really loved the work, and I found that I was really good at it. So we became proctor parents. So kind of like a halfway house. So I worked to transition them from the program to their house. So I worked with the parents and the boy to transition. So we had about 300 boys in our home over a 10-year period.
Oh my goodness, you're a saint.
Right? I tell my kids that all the time. But it was right in the boost of the internet. So I watched it transfold with all of these teenage boys, unfold, and I could see the progression just escalate. And I had, by that time, I had 5 kids and 3 boys of my own, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So your awareness of the issue started to
really intense.
You saw it all unfold.
Oh yeah, absolutely, firsthand, right up there. Like they're getting their phones. We're like, seeing all of this unfold. So
that kind of sparked. Would you characterize it as a passion, or more of like a like a mission?
Both.
Okay.
Both, right? Because then when you see them over, because you can see like how it affects them, because they're coming back after a while, you know, checking in. Like we just had one show up on Sunday that I hadn't seen in 15 years. And he just rode his Harley from San Francisco and came and he's
fun.
like, hey, I'm in town, you know, and he's like 35 years old.
Fun.
Yeah. So anyway, but then I decided to go back and get my master's degree after I had 5 kids, to get certified as a counselor. Because I really wanted to see what this was doing. And around that time is when Candida was, the startings of it in the clinics was coming around. And so I got involved right on that, you know, like, hey, let's use the internet to fight the internet kind of idea.
Yeah.
And so that was the groundwork. But when you start seeing that change is when it develops the passion. And you know, who hasn't had family members, you know, be involved in that. And so being able to give help and passion and sitting there in tears, seeing both sides, spouses, you know, the whole family having it be affected, like you can't not develop a passion for it.
Yeah.
And the people that are affected are amazing, deep, you know, people. And you just develop, all the way around spouses, you know, they're just.
And you come from a family of people that have that same passion. Your dad is a therapist.
My dad is a therapist, and he.
Well, he's retired now, but he had a long overcome struggles and challenges and addictions.
Yep. And my brother, and now my daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my brother.
Oh, I didn't know it went that far.
Social worker, and my daughter is in her master's degree getting her social.
Oh my goodness! So yeah, you guys. It's in your DNA. Yeah.
It's in the DNA.
So I kind of want to dive into this because I think there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we have lots to talk about.
You know, the 2 to 3 week hurdle is something that it comes up for individuals on their recovery journey. It comes up a lot. First of all, a lot of people don't realize that it's a thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, they live it, they experience it, but they don't know that it's like a thing that other people are experiencing.
Right.
They're
weak.
They think they're weak, and like, I can't get past this. You know, I have this burst of energy. I'm doing really well, and all of a sudden that, you know, I go about that long every time, and then I fall. What they don't realize is that it's kind of there's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. So let's talk about like, what it is first, and then maybe dive into how we can address this.
Yeah.
So. Explain for anybody that may be, you know, not fully aware of what that is. You know, let's talk about.
Let's talk about the mistakes everybody makes.
Yes. Okay.
Because I think that will demonstrate the challenge. Okay, so the biggest mistake I think is going in is they're kind of viewing it as like a 50-yard dash instead of a marathon.
The recovery process.
Well, the whole recovery process, but even that first 3-week hurdle is
it's like as soon as I get through that dash, like, oh, I did it.
Right.
And therefore, like, I can kind of let my guard down. I can, like, you know, I can relax.
Yeah. Well, and also though, like preparing for a 50-yard dash and preparing for a marathon are 2 different processes.
That's very true.
Yeah. So
I can do a 50-yard dash.
Right.
A marathon. I'm not prepared for it.
You might not do the 50-yard dash well.
Yeah.
But you can get through it.
Yes.
Right. Marathon, you can't get through. So even to get through the 2-3 week period and stay, that's the key word there, for good, people don't prepare.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest mistakes. They don't prepare. So that's what I want to kind of give you what I've learned today, because as a coach, I promise that 80% of my work is getting them through this.
So one of the mistakes that people make is that they don't treat it like a marathon. They treat it like a 50-yard dash, and that they don't prepare for that marathon.
Right.
Okay.
So next mistake is that they don't realize what they're up against.
Okay. Talk about that. What do you mean by that?
Okay. So if you think about it, like most of people that are engaged in this got in when they're young. Right. Yeah. And so by usually mistake or curiosity or something, right? So right then that brain's young and the reward systems are like, and so get in. And so then from now we're it's not just kind of a rush of things, which we're dealing of neurochemicals, you know, of all the brain science behind it. But the thing that people forget about is they've learned how to soothe themselves. Yeah. They've learned how to take care of their boardom, their loneliness.
They've been coping with this for a long time.
For a long time.
And so the neural pathways are pretty embedded and ingrained
from a
young age. And so reversing that isn't kind of going to happen overnight. That's a slow process.
Well, I think because, sure, we talk about a detox and withdrawals, right? But we're only thinking about like the common mistake is that we think, yeah, it's a rush. It's a higher level of neurochemical rush. So you're in the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're taking that away. But what are you doing with boredom? All of a sudden boredom comes up. What are you going to do with stress? Stress comes up. So not only are we dealing with the detox.
And what I used to do with those, I'm saying I can't do that anymore.
No more
and
brain,
so
sorry.
now I just kind of like, I suffer through it. Is that?
That's the other mistake. He's like,
mentality.
okay, let's take it away. Let's avoid it, right? But, and that could maybe get through just the, if it was just the detox, but how do I deal with boredom now? How do I deal with loneliness? How do I do it? So it's a lot you're asking. It's a lot you're asking your brain to do in a short amount of time and sustain it, right?
Yeah.
So
there's mental fatigue or willpower fatigue or kind of recovery fatigue.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's just overburdening your brain, and because our society we burden our sexuality with. It's kind of like stress eating, right? We burden it with boredom and stress. And so taking this 2 to 3 week on, you got to look at it as a holistic thing, which Fortify does a really good job at explaining how to do it.
That's a great way of looking at it. And I think that people, it's really nice to be able to start to understand the why behind it.
Yes.
The 2 to 3 week, like, okay, so I'm not just weak. It's like the odds are kind of stacked against me. Unless I prepare and whatnot. So I got to kind of arm myself for the 2 to 3 weeks.
So it's not just avoiding all that. That's helpful in the first 2 to 3 weeks to get. But if that's all I do, if I don't give my brain anything yet, there's no way you're making it through, right? The other big mistake people make is that perfectionist thinking. All or nothing.
Black or white.
Yeah. And so I go in thinking my only measure of success is getting through that perfect streak and doing it, right? And so then I put everything into it. So then the minute I fall, I go right to shame, right? And shame's not remorse. Shame's not guilt. Guilt and remorse are very motivating emotions. Like I made a mistake.
Guilt is different than shame.
Well, for me, okay, that's right. Let's define that. So healthy guilt, I guess, is those somatics, right? And remorse to me is like, I love Brene Brown's healthy guilt is I made a mistake.
Yeah.
That's motivating. Oh, it's a mistake. I can change that. And that doesn't come for the spouses out there. That doesn't come without hurt and pain. In fact, that's very helpful. And I'll go into that a little bit later. We need that pain of this is not who I am. Okay. I don't want to do this. But I am a mistake is shame.
Yeah. I am bad.
I am bad.
That's shame. Okay.
Think about that. Right. So that's demotivating. So that's the problem is that, so all or nothing, and then I'm in that nothing and there's no hope. Yeah. There's no motivation to get on. And so then I take that setback and it turns into
multiple setbacks.
Right.
Yeah, kind of a binge or whatever.
Yep. And so then
we see that a lot
too. Right. And so then that's the end of it. And then I'm stuck.
And your motivation's down in the dumps. Yep. And so now, why continue on?
So it's all negative. Yeah. And so
this mentality of perfectionism, recognizing, and we talk about this a lot in Fortify, recognizing that setbacks are a part of the journey, recognizing that you can learn a lot from them. And that's why we don't call them. We call them a setback, just to kind of say look, it doesn't mean that you're derailed. It means that you're kind of just hey, it's like a little pause in the process of progression.
Yeah, and I'm going to go into that a little bit in detail. But for a second, though, I want to kind of give for any spouses that might be listening, that can be a hard thing to hear right now. Oh, whoa, you're waiting. And are you justifying that setback? And no. We're not justifying the setback. Setbacks never good. And I actually have some, and it's not that it has to happen, but if you're having setbacks every day and then expect to not do it, so I don't want to set it up to say it always has to happen, but.
Yeah, some people can experience kind of a full recovery, they never do it again, cold turkey kind of experience, and that can be
happen.
A reality
you can
for some
use the urges to understand,
but to expect that might set yourself up through failure. That recognizing, again, back to the marathon analogy, this is a process, and recognizing it as an entire journey. Is motivating and helpful.
Right. And then so for some spouses, it can be oh, that's why it can be motivating. too,
Mm-hmm.
right? To understand, and get some understanding.
Yeah, because spouses or partners or anybody that's in the
partners,
or in
maybe
the camp of
parents
trying to help somebody, they need to understand that it's a marathon as well, and not just that how come you can't control this. It's like, look, this is a process, the rewiring process of the brain. Takes time, and the shifting of lifestyle takes time.
It does, but that's also hard, and I want to acknowledge that
for sure.
It's hard for spouses, and so that's why that's okay that that's hard. That's supposed to
So are those the mistakes?
Those are the mistakes.
Okay, so what are there any secrets to success in addressing this 2 to 3 week hurdle? What can we do?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is make a plan, have a strategy going in, right? So I like to put it into two parts of that. So the preparation and the push through. So
preparation and push through. Okay, remember that preparation. I'm assuming we're going to come back to those two throughout this whole thing. Okay, so preparation and push through. We're going to start with preparation.
Yeah. Almost.
There we go.
So let's go through kind of like the secrets. It's kind of like a mindset first before we go to the nitty gritty. What do you do? So I think what you want to do, kind of piggybacking on this, like going back to the detox thing, we want to view this process as a foundation.
You do this with your clients.
Oh yeah, this is what I set them up for. So their first few sessions, like this first 2-3 week, it's like building a foundation of a house. So we're gonna give you the first 2-3 weeks. We got to give you the foundation that you are never going to lose the rest of your the rest of the recovery experience. That
foundation.
Yeah.
That's going to be solid.
The things I give to you today are things that, in my opinion, and this is my opinion,
sure,
everybody needs to have.
We want your opinion.
Thank you. I'm going to give it to you. No. So everybody has to have, and you cannot lose it. This is the big, and not that we're going to talk about this. This will be the next webinar. The biggest problem in the later recovery time and not keeping that 180-day. Is that we lose this foundation. Okay. So this is something we not lose, but if we don't. So
today we're going to be focusing on that.
Yes.
That foundation that's going to carry us through the 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So
and for the whole journey.
Yes. So just view it in that way, so that you're patient with yourself. Okay. While you're doing this, so you're building. So you're kind of just building and this is going to include like a healthy lifestyle change. So another really important thing to understand is that, so it's just like, we're not going for the starvation diet. We're going for the changing the healthy lifestyle and how you're eating every day for the rest of your life idea here. Okay. So that is going to take some
difference
time.
Between lifestyle and diet. Yeah.
Right. So also important thing to understand now is you don't have to get perfect in that to make it through the 2 weeks and 3 week period. Okay. We're just establishing beginnings of that. And from my experience, it doesn't require perfection in that. We can change that as we go.
Strengthen and improve over time.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a list of things to do. And at the end of this, you can feel very depressed that there's no way I'm putting that into place in 2 to 3 weeks. Right. Okay. So I just want to be
right now we're
careful
establishing this foundation.
Yep.
Walk me through it.
So, not yet. Okay. Growth mindset. So going back to the setback thing. Right. The way you make it through this 2 to 3 week period is the growth mindset, which means like just what you were talking about. Nope. This is just the mindset. Okay. So when you go through this, we are going to be learning. This first 2 to 3 week period about learning. It's about growing. It's about changing. It's not about perfection again. So the growth mindset is more about like, again, viewing those setbacks and urges and triggers when we get triggered as opportunities of learning. We're just going to gather the information. Let's learn so that we can make a plan. So having that mindset going into this and just kind of being like open to all different types of measurements of success, because that's the other thing is, how do I keep myself motivated? Yeah. And that's about motivation is directly linked from my experience with seeing progress. I've got to identify progress, but feel progress. Like when people report back to me, like, oh my gosh, okay, I did my daily routine, this thing, and it feels good. My comment back to them, okay, go to that feels good thing. Okay. Like, feel it. Like, that's what your brain needs to recognize to want to do it again, and that's what's going to keep you motivated. Okay. So keep that in mind.
So that's the mindset.
Yeah. If you go into this coming out with a checklist today that you're going to be overwhelmed and never, it's not going to be helpful.
Okay.
So you want to have this as like, this is, again, the long process, and I'm going to keep myself motivated by progression, by feeling it. We want you to get to that 2-week period because it's natural to do so. I mean, there is a little bit of white knuckling, I won't lie, to get through that, but it's more of a natural process that just happens because of what you're doing.
Okay.
That's what's going to sustain us. That's the mindset.
Okay.
Now we're ready.
So let's go through the foundation.
Okay. So I've identified 4 areas. I kind of look at like as a puzzle, right? And you have to have lots of puzzle pieces in recovery and keep them there as long as, to get right. So these are kind of the corner pieces.
Okay.
Okay. So I have 4 of them.
Okay.
So I'll just list them right now and then we'll go through them in detail. Okay. So accountability and support.
Accountability and support.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. And then Fortify offers ways to include some accountability. You can have things external to Fortify, but accountability and support.
And I'm going to go into that into detail. So I'll just list them. So accountability and support, securing your home base.
Yes.
Definitely. Focusing on creating a healthy lifestyle of replacements.
Okay.
Okay. And then getting a solid bounce back plan into place and a crisis plan into place. Those are, so a lot of this is outer change. This process is about, this foundation is the outer change that,
okay.
The next process is a lot, we turn inner change, but by doing this and feeling the positive results, you start seeing inner change. You start seeing your desires. Oh man, I like doing this. Mm-hmm. This feels so much better. And if we recognize that, we can start to get inner change. But these are kind of just those are the basics that we just have to have in place and keep in place. Do the rest of it. Okay, so let's go through each of them. Okay, so accountability. Here's my view on accountability. To me, accountability is about awareness. Okay, so I like to view it as a checkbook, and I think I've said this in a Fortified chat, but it's so important. So accountability is just an accounting of. We have such a negative connotation, I think, on it, especially in this field. Oh, I have to be accountable, right?
Yeah.
And so it's accounting. There's expenses, sure, but there's deposits too. Right? So accountability is about just accounting for what happened that day.
Yeah.
Let's just step back and observe.
An honest look.
An honest look at both of them. And in that way, no judgment, no, very self-compassionate, like, okay, man, I had a setback. So let's go back through, oh, it was a victory. Oh, what happened? Let's just account for both of them. What was
and the daily tracker helps people
absolutely so
kind of establish that awareness.
Mm-hmm. So if you think about it more of like, I'm gathering intel.
Yeah.
My accountability is gathering intel. And so you can use the daily tracker, journaling, any of those will help to gather the intel in a positive way.
Yeah. And sharing that with somebody.
Okay, so that's the next part is to get through this 3-week process, you really need somebody. You need a different set of eyes. It's so easy to get stuck in the forest.
Yeah.
You especially when you get a setback, so easy. You got to have a separate set of eyes on there because you're probably missing some things as you're gathering this intel. Because a lot of this intel you're gathering to get through the first 2-3 weeks, we're going to use later in that to get through that next long lasting.
Yeah.
And so gather intel, because that helps you keep out of the trees.
Okay.
So, but support definitely. So that's what allies can do, but you've got to really educate them on what their role is.
An ally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably another webinar that we can talk about.
Definitely. We're not going to go in that today. But that's why, you can use the community to do that. The community forums, people are checking in every day and getting feedback because it's mostly about writing it out and getting feedback, and encouragement and support and hey, I had this. What are your insights, right? It is helpful if you have somebody consistent with you doing it. That's why, coaching is a good option for that. But even support groups or our groups online, they offer a private chat. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding a lot of people being accountability partners.
There's a lot of ways we can become accountable.
A lot of ways because that's the thing that I hear first, nobody understands this. Nobody's going to help me through it. So at Fortify, we understand you. And so we do give you some options. So that's important. Okay. So accountability. So that's the first one. Yeah. Corners. So always account, always be aware. Awareness is 75% of Awareness with no judgment and lots of self-compassion, but honest judgment. Honest account. All right, so that's the first one. So the next one is lock down your home base. Like, this isn't a forever thing, but this is for sure a first hurdle thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have so much stored in your head. There's so much out there in society. Like, the more you can limit yourself, the greater your chances are going to be. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I have. Like, if I'm taking somebody through this, I'm like, all right, let's get you support and let's just start checking in every single day, just a count.
Yeah.
And then let's lock down everything.
Okay, so this is, and there's for those who may not be aware, there is some curriculum in the training that talks about securing your home base.
Yep.
And kind of, looking at your environment around you and kind of setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, and if you look in the forums, there's very detailed programs that help you get on what device and what works for you. What devices you have. Very intelligent people that know this area. Just so look on the forums for ideas. But it's more than just filters. It's like, okay, I'm going to plug my phone in the kitchen. I'm going to I'm going to leave it in the car. It's strategy. So lock that down. So that's the next one. Just protect yourself.
Home base.
All right. Third one is get those replacements. If your brain is bored, we've got to figure out something to do with that boredom. So
whether it's meditation, whether it's a replacement activity, whether it's calling a friend or whatever it may be.
That's what we're talking about. Okay, so I'm going to give you some specific ones that are helpful at first.
Okay, let's do this.
So but just keep in mind but it's really important to keep why you're doing this in mind so it doesn't become a checklist. Okay. You have to keep it in mind. Like, I'm giving my brain something to help with what pornography or whatever it is you're working to overcome has been providing for you. Yeah. And so it's all of those, right? And now you don't have to do the nitty gritty. So that's another thing really important to understand. You don't have to do this perfect right now. We're just gathering intel about it and starting to do the one. So I'm going to give you a list of options, but really I find that if you're only doing one or two of them and going back to some replacements to get them into habit, it's kind of good enough to get you through that first.
So what are some of the ideas?
So this is where we start changing your lifestyle. So I always have people start with the basics because they have to do them anyway. Okay. And this I do for all of my trauma clients. They're doing trauma therapy. All my depression and anxiety clients, like any addiction, I start them up on this. Okay. So sleep, eat, move, and breathe.
Let's repeat that. Sleep, eat, move, and breathe. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Write that down.
Write that down. And I'll say it 10 more times before we leave. I can't emphasize that enough.
Eat, move, and breathe.
Okay, let me go into each one of those of why. Okay. Right. Sleep, I would say, is the most important. So sleep hygiene, because it refreshes your brain. Like
something I'm not getting a lot of lately.
Clay will have a session after. Well, why though?
Yeah. I had a daughter. She's a month old and she doesn't sleep a lot. So this is going to be kind of some chastisement right now. Continue.
Breathe. Do that. No judgment. Okay. Honest accounting. Right. Yeah. All right. So anyway, sleep. Sleep is like, okay, just try to, if you think that you're going to meditate or have a healthy connection, or deal with your boredom, if you haven't slept, you're a little crazy.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Right? Okay, there you go. Difficult, right? So all of these tools are amazing, but if you're sleep deprived, you're not going to be able to do them. So that's why I always go to that one first. And it's something that often people like, I don't have to convince them it's a good thing. They felt.
Yeah, we all want to sleep. I think we're all a little sleep.
And if you do it, you can feel so good quickly. Okay. So keys there. Good nighttime routine. Go to the bed at the same time. Get up at the same time, and no naps. Oh. No naps, except for mothers. Except for newborn. Yeah. Okay. So they have to sleep when the infants sleep. Yes. So your wife is exempt. Okay. Yeah.
So I'll let her know. But I'm not.
No, you got to get up more. All right. So
I'm taking naps.
Yeah. So that's the key. And if you're not getting sleep and those don't work, get to a doctor.
Okay.
Figure this out. This is so important to do. So sleep
Okay.
is important. Eat. Now, this is not a keto diet. This is not weight loss. This is just, think of it this way, just providing your brain nourishment throughout the day. So what I tell people is just concentrate on feeding your brain something every 3 to 4 hours that's not high in sugar and not high in like trans fats.
One thing about Holly that you need to all be aware of is that she'll come to some meetings that we have with like just, it's basically rabbit food. There's no dressing. It's just like lettuce and carrots and stuff. So when you talk about eating healthy, I mean, you take it very seriously.
Well, that's because I'm getting old and I have to.
Well, it's inspirational regardless.
But honestly, this is where because sometimes I'll put in like this is a little too, a 10-hour therapy day, right? So by the end of that therapy day, if I've like taken days off, my brain's not working.
Yeah.
So like I tried it once just as a detox after going on my 25th anniversary cruise for 2 weeks. And somebody's like, yeah, just eat raw vegetables all week and you'll feel, it'll clean you all out and you'll be good again. Oh my gosh, I was so awake and alert for my 3 and 4 client after doing that. So I've been doing it for 2 years now and not looking back.
So eating is sleep, eat,
move. Okay, so move is not getting to the gym and exercising. Move
it can be.
It can be, and there's lots of endorphins. But for what we need, get those 10,000 steps.
Okay.
Get out
That's
there,
a goal. 10,000.
get your brain moving. Just think about moving. Like Troy's
Going on a walk.
Going on a walk, walking the dog. Get your body out. Now, if you can hike in nature, if you can go out, work out with a buddy, if you can go do that, we get extra benefit.
Yeah.
But the basics is getting moving, and I find that almost anybody can do that.
Okay.
So then breathe.
Eat, sleep, move, and breathe.
Breathe. Okay. I cannot emphasize the most important about mindfulness meditation. So but what I'm talking about here is getting that 10 minutes of practice in every day. Now, okay, so let me tell you this. When we say daily, perfectionist mindset, we're really meaning if you get 3 to 4 times a week, then you're pretty good.
Okay.
So, but you have to think about it daily to get those 3 to 4 times.
Okay.
And so I don't want you to freak out about this. But okay, so this is what I explain about meditation. Mindfulness meditation is about being in that moment, right? In your body, in that moment. So it's kind of like a weightlifting for the mind. It's building your mind muscles. Yeah. So if any Headspace or Calm app or anybody, you'll see it's expect your brain to wander, gently guide it back. Wander.
During this 10-minute
practice. During that 10-minute
you're kind of sitting, you're noticing the breath going through your nostrils and you're filling your lungs.
But you're expecting your brain to wander during that time and bring it back. So the weightlifting.
And that's actually strengthening your capacity to handle the difficult moments later on when you are more in control, as you can kind of rehearse and practice pulling your mind back to a centered place. It is weightlifting for the mind because you get stronger and more capable.
Okay, so same with weightlifting, the minute you stop it, you lose that muscle. So this is a habit you have to have for the rest of your life. But every human being should do this, right? So because it helps us get through those bored emotions, the angry emotions, the stressed emotions, and the urges.
It puts you in the driver's seat.
There you go. So that one I can't emphasize enough. But it's the practice. Now we want to practice it. So if you do this, guess what's going to work a whole lot better? Urge surfing, star, eye bouncing, all of those tools. SOS meditation is going to work a whole lot better in the crisis if you're doing your exercise. Okay.
So we got sleep, eat, move, and breathe.
Yeah.
And that's the lifestyle piece, right?
That I start out with,
Okay, that you start out with.
So the other quick replacements then is I kind of have people come up with a list of like healthy pleasure outlets, things that we still need pleasure, we still need like decompression. So what I do is tell people pick things that already are pleasurable for you in a healthy, the simple pleasures of life, and do those first. Don't go out and create a new hobby right now. Do something that your brain has already reward systems built up in, and make a list of those, and then go to those.
And then go to those as often as you can, or in those moments.
No, any of it.
Yeah.
Prevention. Yeah. And then like connection is good. Spirituality is good. Hobbies, passions, all of that.
Okay.
So I like to have people have a list of those to go to that are already there. We can add as we go on, but I don't like to do that in the first 2 to 3 weeks. I like do this lifestyle change, and then have those things that already are good, and to kind of have in your back pocket.
Okay. So just to review,
yes.
The first is accountability and support, like the data analysis and kind of tracking that, self-compassion. The second was
lock down your home base.
Yeah, your home base, securing your home base. And then the third is the lifestyle, which we just discussed.
Yeah.
And what's the fourth?
All right, the fourth is I can't remember.
She has it written down.
I have it written down because I knew. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, you have to have a solid bounce back plan and an SOS plan. Yeah. So okay,
kind of a crisis plan.
So let me go into the why for this. I find out that if people understand the why, then they don't think that my coach is telling them or my therapist is telling them an annoying thing to do. Okay, so what I found is that on a setback, like as you're pushing through this 2 to 3 week time, it's hard, especially that first 2 to 3 weeks. But if you get to where you're bouncing back quickly, that stops the intensity of the setbacks and the duration. And sometimes that's kind of what we're looking for. When we track, I don't like people, when people are starting out, I'm like, okay, we're not looking for get through the 3 weeks right now. We're looking for how long can you go? Now, to get to the 3 weeks, you're going to have to fight with all your might, mind, and strength.
For a lot of people, right?
Yeah, for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to really work at it. So we're not going to say, hey, it's okay to justify a setback. This is for this person. It's okay to justify this. No, you're going to have to fight, right? But if we have one, let's limit it and let's bounce back as quickly as we can. So have a very solid bounce back plan. So the minute you have the setback, instead of going to shame, we go right to a bounce back plan that's written out, very step by step.
And in Fortify, as part of the Freedom Plan, there is a place to fill out a bounce back plan.
And so the things that I find most helpful in that, and we did a Fortify chat on this, is basically like is assess. Like go through, because and this is for the spouses too, like you have to feel that. It's helpful to feel that, like gut punch a little bit. Not shame, but like, that was a mistake. And you do that by just accounting for it. And that's what our accounting, like when people start coaching, I say, just check in every day. Just start checking in. That's the first thing you can do. And so when we do have a setback, we have a natural step in there to where it's like, okay, had a setback. And they know exactly my next question. What happened? Just account for it, right? What happened? But account for the hard feelings. Like, this is not who I am. I don't want this. Because then we can compare on our victories of like, wow, you know what? I worked out today. It felt amazing. That comparison is what, and then feeling it is what pushes us through those 2 to 3 weeks. Because I start, and the interchange, it starts creating interchange. I prefer this. I don't prefer this. If we don't take time, because going back to the mistakes, we just ignore that happened. We want to pretend it didn't. Let's put my past in the past and move forward. Guess what? That's pretty beneficial. So bounce back plan, and it kind of gets kind of like a closure to it, and I can move on. So if I account for it, feel those feelings, then I can move on. So very important.
And now let's talk about the crisis plan.
So the crisis plan is avoid triggers at all possible. Like I have one that he goes, the minute I start feeling an urge, I run out of my apartment. And he literally runs around.
Just anything
he can do. Hiking, buddy, whatever he can do. So get away from the triggers as much as possible. And then go to the healthy outlets. And if that's not working, get to distraction, like distract yourself, call your allies, go out with people, do whatever you need to do. Like try the bounce back.
But similar to the bounce back plan, write it out. This is my crisis plan. This is my strategy. So in the event that I'm in a moment of crisis, so it's different than maybe just feeling an urge. Crisis is like, I'm about to give in. What do I do?
Almost every urge in the first 2 to 3 weeks is a crisis.
Is a crisis. Sure. Okay.
I'll be honest with you. Like they're pretty hard. And so if it's that detox, it's that first part, and that's why you need people close to you. So solid one of those, and we have lots of resources in Fortify. We've done Fortified chats on all of these. So get that written out, have it there. So those are the 4 that we never lose.
Okay. So let's review. Why don't you review them for us?
Definitely. Okay. So first one is
Accountability
accountability and support. And then it's
securing your home base.
Yep. And then it's the healthy replacements.
Yeah,
lifestyle. Just start into this 1 to 2 at a time, and then build it.
And then your foundation.
And then crisis and bounce back.
Okay, and so this kind of creates the foundation.
The ability.
The beginnings of the foundation.
Yes.
So that we can stand on that foundation to kind of endure through the 2 to 3 hurdle, which is what this whole webinar is about.
Yeah. So this isn't just writing this out. This is about doing it.
Yes. Living it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're ready to go through the push through.
Okay. So we just talked about, that's all prep.
Yeah.
Everything we just talked about was about preparation, kind of getting you in the right mindset, establishing the right corners of your foundation, as you put it.
Yep.
Preparing yourself to be equipped to then deal with that. Now, let's talk about the push through.
Yeah. Okay. This is where you kind of put the rubber to the road here. So when you feel ready, and you'll know because the streaks are getting longer, the detox time is shorter, you're bouncing back pretty good, and you're like, I'm not feeling ready. And so I really test you, like, how are you doing? How are you doing? Like, and so when you're ready, you got to have a 3-week plan, 21-day plan to get through this. So you warn your allies, your coach, your group members, like, I'm doing it, I'm pushing through. Because we're not stopping at 21 days. We're pushing through, right?
Pushing through is like getting through that.
So there's a little bit of white knuckling that has to go through. So during this time, like, I've had people seriously said, I'm not using my computer for the whole 3 weeks. Now, work.
For some they can do that, others can't.
Yeah, but that's literally the extent that we've gone to. Like, it's a planned 3-week thing.
Okay.
We have everybody on board, right? And basically, you're not doing anything different than you can, because why? Like, it's just like, what do you do to prepare for a marathon? You run miles every day, right? And you get those extended out more and more and more.
Never done it, but I've
Me neither. But I have lots of clients who have, and man, it's grueling. So
someday.
I don't know if that's even on my bucket list. And so then it's the push through. So you literally don't change anything you're doing. You just get a rally of support, because who shows up to the marathon? Every friend, family member, and everybody runs that length with you.
Signs for you.
Right. So no different here. And man, you have a celebration after you hit that day 21, and not just push through. That's the right. And because we have another plan for day 30, so there's continued thing, but we switch a little bit of our focus at that point.
Okay.
So the push through. Have a plan.
I love it. So talk to so I love the fact that you kind of establish a strategy. You make a plan for the push through. It's not just something that you stumble across. Like, hey, I just did it.
No,
it's something that you say, okay, I'm gonna.
It's running the marathon. That's the date.
I'm gonna hit this.
Yeah. You plan for it.
I'm going to burst through and go.
October 1st through October 21st, I'm pushing through.
Okay, I like that. And then you notify individuals of that goal. And if you have a setback in that time frame,
no problem.
You
have the tools
assess, you have the tools to kind of bounce back.
And then
establish some new goals. Okay, I love this. Okay, so what about you push through on that first one, right? And then maybe a week later, you have a setback. We talked in the beginning, this is a marathon. This is not a kind of a cold turkey one-time thing. So you might have multiple 2 to 3 week hurdles that you need to kind of go throughout your entire recovery journey, right? And it's kind of understanding that's part of the process for yourself, and also your partner, if you have one, to help them understand that this is a journey and that you might have multiple of these. So talk a little bit about the partner in all of this and helping set expectations a little bit for them.
So it just depends on where the partner is. But for partners that I want to speak to the ones that are, like, at this point are almost maybe feeling nauseated and like really, at this process and overwhelmed. Like, you have to pay attention to you first. Like, if this is too much for you, I think it's always important to keep the partner abreast of every step of this process. But you might need to have other supports, other accountability partners, cheerleaders going on in the background, because it might be too much for you to expect yourself, because spouses are going to have to deal with betrayal, anger, frustration, and they're trying to like, oh, I'm so happy that you made it through that urge, but you can't fake that, and that's could be detrimental for your own progress.
Yeah, okay.
So sometimes you might have to understand where your boundaries are.
Yeah, as a partner.
As a partner.
Yes.
Yeah, and what I can and can't do to participate.
Yeah.
So I always think transparency is the number one thing. Transparency, but the amount of information and the details of information, that's why I think, the other supports are important.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So just be wise. Be wise. But some spouses, especially, are ready for this and ready to be on the team and ready to go through all of that.
So we have a question by Polar Josh 123. I wanted to get to some of these because we're running low on time.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's good. It's good. It's great. So I just want to get to a couple of these. Let's see. Is this a question? I think it's just a comment. Let's see. Let's go over to
which was about stress and saying, stress has been one of my things.
Okay, so if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them up here. JP60465 says that a huge plan for him is in bed with his spouse, which is to be in bed by 9:30, right? So going back to that lifestyle, like sleep, eat, move, and breathe, right? So I think all of these can really contribute to one's success. Now, Jedediah says this: I just rolled over in bed. Does that count as a good move in your sleep, eat, move, breathe strategy?
No, I'm just kidding. I know. No.
Nice try.
Nice.
As long as it's accompanied by a whole lot of other things.
The humor can be a very good tool.
Yeah, well done. So Holly, is there any other additional strategies? Or is there anything in the very few minutes that we have left? Yeah. What else do you want to share with regard to overcoming this 2 to 3 week hurdle?
Okay, so manage. So how long will this process take?
What's the process?
How long can it take? So I do think you have
to where I no longer have to be worried about the 2 to 3.
Well, how long is the prep period take? How long does the push through take? Well, we know how long the push through takes, 3 weeks. And that's everybody hates this answer, but it depends on each person. But I can give you a little bit.
Makes sense.
So if you're having setbacks every single day, obviously we have a lot more detox to go through than if you're only slipping every week or every month or something like that. So it could go pretty quickly. The next thing is how much do you already have of your healthy lifestyle? Those coming in that are no, I work out every day, I do this, that, that's going to take less.
Yeah,
right?
They're already bringing a lot. They're not starting from ground zero.
Yeah, and most people that I work with already have a lot
of these things in place.
Yeah, this is the other thing that I like to have people look at when they come in is that I'm okay, we probably already have a lot of these puzzle pieces. We just got to put them in place and hold them there. And then see which one we're missing.
And then fill it.
Yeah, because if we have a setback, we're just missing a puzzle piece. Oh shoot, we didn't have a plan for boredom. Okay, let's work on boredom for a little bit. That's the later on ones. Okay. That's not this first part, but you're gathering intel for it. Yep. So just understanding that it is a process.
It's a process, and it's different for each person.
Yep, different.
Is there any sort of kind of estimate for generalization, or do you not even get a go?
I don't even dare go there.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Because it can be...
Okay, how about this? I've seen people do it in a month or 2. And I've seen people take a year.
Yeah. Or
2.
Right.
Or 20.
It's kind of how much you put into it, right? How much you're willing to kind of sacrifice or change. A lot of times people, come to want to solve a particular issue in their life, whether it be addiction or any other thing. And they kind of say fix this piece, talking to a therapist, fix this piece of my issue. Yeah. And the good therapist will look at that and say, okay, in order to fix this piece, we're going to have to fix all these other pieces because they all tie together, right? And so really what we're doing in Fortify, what the foundation of what we're doing in Fortify is a larger analysis of your life and the needs that need to be met in healthier ways. Yeah. So it's more of a lifestyle shift and an inner change, an outer change shift in order to really reach that long-lasting freedom. It's not just did I not view pornography, or did I not act out in a sexually
that's
compulsive
just
way?
intel.
That's the
intel. Yeah.
kind of the branches of the tree, and we're going to look at that root. So
and it is. I mean, we do our. I want to be first, partners too. Like our goal is that long lasting, green streak all the way through.
Yeah. Here's a question real quick. Maybe we'll do one more question here. So this is so this is from Nathan K. Tank.
Yep.
He says that, how do you guys think is a good way to address long-term relapse, or to set up my life in a way that I become relapse proof?
This is definitely my next webinar.
Yeah.
So
but
it's a great question. But so just quick answer, right? So after we get through this 2 to 3 week push, if you're getting setbacks later, it's because we have unresolved childhood pain. It's because our stress management is out of control. It's because we need to fix our relationships. We have other puzzle pieces that we do have to figure out to get that long lasting. So to me, if somebody's later on, and this is probably whole nother webinar, but later on, if they have one, we got to sit back and okay, it could be this. Did you let your foundation go?
Mm-hmm.
Or you eat, sleep, maybe breathe? Is there a foundation in place? Or gosh, maybe we just missed this puzzle piece. Let's go fix that puzzle piece while we're keeping these other ones. But keeping these other ones by this time should be pretty automatic.
Okay.
You've established routines.
Yeah.
Your brain likes to. I don't leave my house without my vegetables because I know I'm not making my 4 o'clock appointment. I turn around and text my client that I'm going to be late. I gotta have my vegetables.
Interesting. Yeah. You're committed.
No,
committed
it's because I can't do it.
This is going to be our last question, but I like it enough that I want to ask it. This is from Plumbot. He or she writes that, I think it is a male. So he writes that, is there any truth to the whole idea of the release valve? From personal experience for him, it seems like his body builds up libido until about a week or two, building up, and he feels like as a single guy, there's no outlet, and it's really tough to kind of get through and push through that through a hurdle. Is there any truth to that? I think this kind of comes back to that whole replace thing. Yeah. Right.
This is it. This is a huge. This is probably a whole another webinar too. And it's true. That's there is a thing of a sexual drive, right? Yeah. And exercise and building up can increase your libido, right? And so that has a correlated effect, of course, to pornography and urges, right? Yeah. And so, but I think that there's a thought out there that I really like that I've seen people do, is a sexual release the only way you can use sexual energy? And can I refocus that sexual energy other ways? Mm-hmm. And I've seen people do it. In fact, I worked with months working on celibacy. I've seen it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's a pretty complex question.
So we might need to dive more into that another time. But thank you so much for your question, Plumbot.
Great question. It's an important one to answer.
And we are out of time. So here we covered a lot of ground.
I know.
We covered everything from building a foundation to preparing to address a very planned 2 to 3 week push through. So I hope that you guys got a lot out of this, and you can come back to this. Those of you who have and are tuning in live, thanks for being with us. Those of you who are watching this after the fact, continue the conversation. Keep asking questions and answer each other's questions. We'll try to tune in every once in a while and plug in some thoughts, but. We want to make you all aware of a webinar that is coming up, and that will be on October 20th, so next month at 9 a.m., and that's with Sam Louie, and he's an author writing for recovery. So you're going to want to tune into that. He's an excellent speaker and author, and
I'm excited.
A lot of smart things he's going to share with us. So let's dive into that next month. We have a Fortified Chat
2 weeks.
in 2 weeks from now. So we'll dive in. You'll see the same mugs in front of you then, but we'll be able to cover. We'll be dealing with emotional triggers on that one. We talked about. Environmental triggers last time. We'll talk about emotional triggers in the next one. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.